Today I'll be taking a look at the YJ MGC 4x4. So now just taking a look at the box. This is the box of my YJ MGC 6x6, and thankfully they're not the same, so YJ is actually putting in a lot of hard work, unlike some people who are just lazy. Okay, so here's the cube, and we also have a bunch of accessories. So in the accessory box, we have a bunch of extra springs, a pamphlet, some more extra springs, and this really cool looking YJ screwdriver, as well as some extra magnets. So out of the new YJ MGC Big Cube series, the only other cube I have is the YJ MGC 6x6, which is actually pretty good, so I'm really excited for this cube right here. Alright, so here is the cube. Thankfully it's not too looby or greasy on the outside, which is great. So anyway, my current main is this one right here. This is the also GTS2M. So it is a really good cube, really great corner cutting, fast, stable and all that, but it is a little bit big for my hands. It is 61mm, and this, the MGC, is 60mm, so I'm hoping this will be a better size. So just based off the YJ MGC 6x6, a few expectations. So I think this cube is going to be sort of like really fast, like the MGC 6x6 is quite fast. And I also think it's going to be really dry and sandy out of the box, because that's how my YJ MGC 6 came as well. I also expect this to be a little bit tighter and make me have to loosen it a little bit. I also think it might not be as controllable or stable, and I might have to lube it slightly to get it to a controllable speed. Alright, so with those expectations in mind, let's get into some first turns. Alright, so far I've only really turned the outer layers, and as far as I can tell, I was right. This cube is really dry out of the box, which is great because that means I can use my own lube setup and I don't have to wipe out lube or anything. And this cube, yep, this is really tight at the moment. Let's check corner cutting. The corner cutting is actually pretty good despite the tight tensions. And let's check reverse corner cutting. Ooh, reverse corner cutting is not that great, unfortunately, but corner cutting overall is still pretty decent. Alright, so now let's take a look at the inner layers. Alright, so the inner layers are definitely more sandy and dry. I'm not sure how to describe this feeling. It's kind of it's just really sandy and dry, and it's not really as smooth. This is my GTS2M, by the way. Yeah, so this cube is a lot more smooth. When you just turn it, you can tell that it's a little bit more smooth. Whereas this cube, on the other hand, it's you can hear that sort of scratchy feel. So I'm definitely gonna be lubing this cube a little bit so that hopefully that feel goes away. And this cube actually, it does have glossy plastic. I think it's not like the matte finish that we've been getting with a lot of the new cubes, especially the 3x3s. But overall, this puzzle is turning really, really well. And this is just out of the box, which means I haven't even set it up or anything like that. Alright, so using the screwdriver, I think I'm gonna loosen. So with the screwdriver, I think I'm going to loosen this a little bit. Alright, so now that I've loosened it, it's definitely corner cutting a little bit better. As you can see, it's starting to corner cut a little bit more of the higher ranges as compared to before. Unfortunately though, loosening a cube does not help its reverse corner cutting. So as you can see, the reverse corner cutting is still not as good, because tensioning doesn't really affect the reverse corner cutting of a cube. So let's take a look at my GTS2M. So the GTS2M also can't corner cut line to line, but if we just make it maybe half, the GTS2 can corner cut. The MGC can also corner cut half, but if you push it closer to line, that's where the also GTS2M might beat the MGC 4x4 in terms of reverse corner cutting. Alright, so with all of my cubes, I'm gonna lube this with weight 5 silicone lube. Alright, so now will actually be a great time to take a look at the mechanism. So just for comparison, this one on the right is the GTS2M-ish. So if you just compare it side by side, you can see in the MGC, this has a smaller triangle as compared to this. And looking at the side, you can see that the MGC has this sort of a line here, and it's notably smaller torpedo. And for this part, I think it's pretty much the same, except that this is sort of a smaller version. So now taking a look at the corner pieces. So on the Auto GTS2M, the stocks of the corner pieces are dark blue, whereas on the MGC they're like white or primary. So as expected, the GTS2M is bigger. After all, this cube is 1mm bigger than the MGC 4x4, and same goes for this extra little bump here. This is definitely smaller on the MGC 4x4. Alright, so just before putting in this edge piece, I think I'm gonna lube it with a little bit of weight 5 silicone lube. So what I like to do is I mainly focus on like this part here, not too much on the piece. So I'll just take this and I'll put a little bit over here, sort of get it in a nice coating, get it inside here as well on this sort of like flat surface as well, and maybe some on the other side. Don't add too much at first if you're thinking on lubing it, because I think that if you add too much, it's gonna be sort of a hassle, especially because this is a 4x4 to clean it out. Whereas if you add too little, you can just add some more later if necessary. Alright, so I put in a little bit of weight 5, and it's definitely the sandy feel is going away a little bit, but I probably will have to put in a little bit more of weight 5 lube in order to fully make it like sort of like a more smooth feel, because it is still kind of dry because I did only add a little bit. Alright, so I've been using the YJ MGC 4x4 for quite a while now, and the reason why this review is probably coming like really late, I'm sure by the time you've seen this review, like there are probably like 1,000 other reviews of this cube, is because I found that this cube actually took quite a lot of time to break in, and I really didn't want to give my final thoughts on it without giving it a full breaking time, because I felt like that would be unfair. So what I mean is that this cube, for some reason, it just didn't break in for quite a while. So for the first few days that I was using it, it just felt the same as out of the box, like dry and scratchy, even though I did add some lube. It was only after like maybe a week or so that the cube really started to break in. Usually when I break in cubes, it only takes like a few days to fully break in, so this was really odd for me. In the beginning, this cube was, well, not great, and my times on it were, well, bad. Like really bad. But as the cube started to break in, its performance started to improve, and so did my times. Alright, so that brings me to where this cube is today. So this cube actually turns really good. It's quite effortless to turn, it's quite frictionless, but at the same time, as I said in my unboxing, the reverse corner cutting is still not that good. Although I do feel like the reverse corner cutting has improved like a little bit from all the breaking that I've been doing, but I feel like sometimes it just doesn't reverse corner cut. But forward corner cutting is amazing. But now that I've fully broken the cube in, I have to say that this cube is really amazing. Now regarding the reverse corner cutting for like the inner layers of this cube, I found that the reverse corner cutting of the inner layers is actually pretty good, as well as for the forward corner cutting of both the inner layers and the outer layer. So one thing I love about this cube is how the inner layers are actually really fast. For things like the also GTS2M, the outer layers would be really fast, but then the inner layers, sure, the inner layers were fast, it's just that the outer layers were so much faster than the inner layers, it felt like it was unbalanced. So let's say when I was doing parity algorithms, or like just edge pairing or centers or whatever that required a combination of inner layer and outer layer moves, I felt that I was having a little bit more trouble on the GTS2M, whereas on the MGC 4x4, I feel like the inner layers are actually pretty dang good, and they're actually a lot closer in feel to the outer layers. Because of this consistency between the inner and outer layers, I find I have quite a faster OLR parity on this cube, as well as PLR parity. So regarding pops, this cube has actually popped on me a few times before. But the thing about pops on this cube is that I'm not too sure if it's like the mechanism of like the pieces being smaller, like the torpedo or whatever. But it's actually really simple and a lot easier to fix a pop on the MGC 4x4 as compared to the Aosu GTS2M. So even if my cube pops, I can just plop the piece back in like a few seconds. And regarding corner twist, I also haven't really found myself to corner twist this cube much either. So when transferring from the GTS2M to the MGC 4x4, one of the main things I noticed was the size, and I'm sure this is what a lot of other people will notice is just switching 4x4s. The size makes a pretty big difference. So on the GTS2M, I found that it's pretty like big in my hands, whereas the MGC 4x4 feels just a lot more compact and makes it much easier to make turns. However, I'm not sure if I really want to go like below 60mm, because when doing slice moves like this, my ring finger is actually pretty much the same size as this piece right here. And if it's too small, I feel like my fingers will not be able to do a slice move, as it'll just get caught in this layer and this layer. As for the setup, apart from weight 5, which I showed earlier in this video, I also looped this cube with a little bit of Luna Loop from speedcubeshop.com, which really gave it a fast, smooth, and frictionless feel. So would I recommend this cube? Definitely. This cube is currently $20 at speedcubeshop.com. Less if you use the discount code MCubers. And for the price, it's totally worth it. At this price, there's no other 4x4 which can match it. The only 4x4s that I think might stand a chance would be the Aosu WRM and the Aosu GTS2M 4x4. So when it comes to the MGC 4x4 against the GTS2M or WRM 4x4, well, it's actually really close. I find that the MGC 4x4 and Aosu WRM feel a lot closer to each other because I feel like they're not as smooth. I feel like the GTS2M is a lot more smooth than them. But performance-wise, I feel they all perform pretty much the same, and it's really up to your personal preference. Alright, so that's gonna wrap it up for this review. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.